What's going on, everybody? And welcome to another episode of the Culture 316 podcast. I'm one of your hosts and producers, Jordan Nahisi.
And I'm your co host, Mel. I'm finally back. And what is up, people?
Sis is back like she never left. Once again, regardless of where you guys are listening from, be sure to uh, be able to like, comment, subscribe if you're on YouTube or on Facebook, because like a lot of our stuff is on Facebook now. Also, if you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify Podcasts, be sure to rate the show, give it a 5 stars. Um, but yeah, let's get right. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. Next week, Elimination Chamber is going to be going down, and we're going to be having another one of our 316 spaces. I figured I'd promote now and the week that it's happening. But yes, be sure to join us as we build some virtual community, and we look forward to seeing you guys there. It's always a fun time whenever we do any of these spaces. But without further ado, we're gonna get. Oh Jesus, my computer's acting up. All right, here we go. Without further ado, let's get right into the show. So, first things first. First things first. Fightful has reported that WWE has recorded a $1.3 billion year in 2022. This means that this was the highest grossing year in the history of the company. Um, Wanted to know your opinion on that, and like, what do you think that is attributed to? Why do you think that WWE was able to make so much this past year? Was it a creative thing? Was it a business thing? Just wanted to know your take on it.
It's definitely nothing that they're doing on TV. I feel like it's all their adventures that they've been doing outside. A lot of collaboration. They're still working with the Saudis, so I know that they're making a shit ton of money with them. But I feel like just in general, one thing that they're good with is working with other networks, other companies, other promotions, utilizing like the correct superstars to maybe like get some sponsorships and some good deals over there. And they've been sticking their hands a lot into people that are very popular like in the mainstream media, whether it's on social media or just mainstream. Like they've been doing that more now than I feel like they've done in other years. So while the show may not be as interesting as it normally has been, on a business standpoint, they definitely have been doing their thing, which is predicted. I mean, how else do you keep this show running for so long?
Hmm.
So it's like they've been lacking for what they've been doing on screen, but they've been excelling what they do off screen, in my personal opinion. But what do you think?
So I think that it's that, but I also think that it's just a lot of the things that allowed them to have make a billion. It's like I think the correct figure is like 1.3 billion a year, is because of the deals that they already have
Right.
in place. Obviously, they still have their media rights deal with NBC Universal as well as Fox. So you're getting 250 million from one place, 200 million from another place. That accounts for essentially 40 to 50% of that revenue that's been coming in. And then you take into the account that a lot of these big four pay-per-views have been moving into stadiums, and that has also translated into um, a lot of weekend centric experiences. So you have Royal Rumble, you have like the access pertaining to that because they have events surrounding Royal Rumble weekend. You have, WrestleMania, obviously. You have SummerSlam and you have Survivor Series, all big events, all with a lot of things going on in their respective cities whenever they're doing it. And then on top of that, I also just think that it's because of the creative direction. I feel like because Vince kind of stepped down and Hunter kind of stepped up, I think it gave an incentive for investors to continue to invest in WWE, at least if you're a stockholder or a shareholder. I feel like that was able to increase the company's value. Um, but I think it's a multitude of things. I think that WWE has been kind of on this trajectory, and I think that a lot of it is kind of centered around previous deals that they were, in the middle of, that they signed 2, 3 years ago, coupled with the fact that they've been just doing bigger events. They've been selling more merchandise. They've been bringing guys back, you know what I mean? And letting other guys who may not have been a draw go. So, and not to mention like Roman Reigns and his impact and all of this. But that's just like my little take on it. That's how I felt. I didn't know if you had anything else that you wanted to add, but that was just what I had in mind.
No.
Nah. Well, we want to know what y'all feel. How do you guys feel about WWE making $1 billion a year, which is a big, 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 big figure? What do you think? What do you think is the reason for that? Let us know. But we're going to be moving on. So, moving into the next. Speaking of money, WWE has also been seeing recent success with their house shows. According to Wrestle Ops, WWE was able to do an all-time gate record during their house shows in Columbus and Pensacola. It should be noted that both house shows sold out once Cody Rhodes was announced. So I wanted to know, do you believe that this solidifies Cody Rhodes as a draw for WWE? The fact that he's been able to be linked to these sold out house shows, which, quite frankly, a lot of house shows don't sell out like that.
Oh, of course, of course. I feel like Cody has been on a roll, and we knew that this was going to happen when he came in. He's kind of, again, in my personal opinion, taken up the role of what John Cena did for the company. You
Mm,
know, he just oozes being a baby face. And I feel like the fans love him a lot because you could tell that he loves to be here and that he's really proud to be here for a second run.
mhm,
Um, I mean, again, he already has star power from being in other promotions and what he did in AEW, even though it was short lived. Um, and of course, yeah, you're still gonna have people who are AEW versus WWE. So when they see Cody coming here switching sides, you automatically want to just get on the bandwagon and be like, yeah, let's like support and push Cody or whatnot, and be like, yeah, we made a star out of him here when he couldn't do that over there in AEW. But me genuinely, I mean, I'm happy to see Cody here. I love everything that he's doing so far. I love what I'm seeing right now currently with him and Paul Heyman. Shit's just great. Nothing just feels better than just seeing this natural baby face. And it's not something that feels like it's a company plant, but just like this person just naturally just gives that off.
mhm.
So yeah, I think it really does solidify him, but I feel like he was already solidified from the moment he showed up. I mean, if you weren't believing in that man after his match with Seth Rollins, with the heart that this man had for that company to show up and pull off that match, I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. I don't think anyone else complained when he won for Royal Rumble. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think everyone was unanimously really happy with the decision. It does not shock me that he sold out for a house show because it's about time that we had a natural babyface male superstar. Besides Sammy, of course, we love Sammy,
right,
but above him, just by a hair, I would say it's Cody. But that's debatable. But what do you
right.
think?
That's interesting, that Cody Sammy debate, and I think I'll touch on that a little bit. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that Cody definitely is a draw for WWE, and I think that it's interesting because when you take into account his WrestleMania return and going from WrestleMania into Hell in a Cell, and then taking all that time off, and then him coming back to the Royal Rumble. Usually, we see stuff like this for guys who have been in the company for 2, 3, at least 4 years, who have had a solidified WWE run. The fact that Cody's been able to do this within a matter of months, I think, shows his star power. I think it also shows the power of the diehard fan, of the serious fan that is often associated with All Elite Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Ring of Honor. I feel like WWE, by bringing Cody in, they kind of have done what I think they were intending to do when they offered a deal to guys like Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. They were able to kind of maintain their family friendly audience, but because of the presence of this indie darling, or this person that was appreciated on the indies, they're able to attract a totally different fan, and now they're able to kind of merge audiences because you have these people coming for these people, and then you have this other set of people coming for guys like Cody, even guys like Sammy, because Sammy was a Ring of Honor guy at one point as well. um, Now, as far as the Cody Sammy thing, man, it's so hard to debate who is the more over face. I think that Sammy is having a very white hot moment right now, and he's just in his element. And I don't think this is kind of very similar to like the Kofi Mania that happened in 2019, as far as just his sudden rise to popularity because of a story. Um, However, I think they are kind of like a 1A, 1B type of situation. They're kind of like even. You know what I mean? I think that they're both phenomenal faces, and I think that they're going to thrive in their respective stories. But man, it's hard to debate
Well,
on
let's put
who's
it
better.
like this. Let's put it like this. Let's just say that hypothetically for WrestleMania, they had set up Roman Reigns to sacrifice both his belts in a one-on-one match with one with Cody, one with Sammy. If they were to both hypothetically win their matches, who would get the ladder pop? I feel like it's the best way to
Ooh,
break it down,
Jesus. Ah.
right?
Um. Cody. The reason why I
Really?
think Cody,
Why?
based on what we saw this past Monday on Raw, because now the story. At first, if you asked me this a week ago, I would have said Sammy. But based on the story that is now attached to the Cody Roman storyline, is one, Dusty trained Roman Reigns, that Dusty helped Paul Heyman, that Cody is picking up from where his father left off, and he is a Rhodes headlining WrestleMania. These all one of those stories was kind of mentioned when Cody won the Rumble. But now with all three of these things at the forefront, now that there's so much depth in the story and now there's so many layers, I think that that has allowed the fans to kind of be like, okay, yeah, if Cody wins, we're gonna pop and we're gonna pop hard. But it's like, damn. But like if Sammy wins, I know that that pop is gonna be deafening. I think and it also depends on how the match is booked. I feel like if they overbook a Cody Roman, Cody won't get the biggest pop. If they book it just correct, Cody's gonna get a good pop. If they underbook Sammy, then he's not gonna get the best pop. If they book it correctly, he's gonna get a greater pop. So I think it also just depends on like how the match is booked. But I think Cody. But what about you?
They would have to book it in a way where he looks feeble.
Yeah,
Like
very
they
true.
would have to book it in a sense where like he just has like this baby face comeback after getting his ass mauled. Because Roman Reigns already like looks at Sammy as being like, the bottom of his shoe, you know.
Yeah,
So they would have to book in a way where it looks like, yeah, he just get his ass beat for a big chunk of the match, but then something like Sammy pulls something out of his ass and just has like this big baby face comeback. And I don't want to say that he wins by the skin of his teeth, but he legitimately puts like Roman Reigns down. And I would love to see him actually put Roman in his own submission finisher and make that man
that would be
tap out.
tough.
That's the best way I feel like you could put Sammy over and make him like actually look like a legitimate top star at that point. If
Yeah,
you wanted to, go with that booking, because he would essentially had bitched Roman Reigns out. Let's be honest. After everything that he said about him and how he made it seem like this was an opportunity he gave to him. So
right.
that's the way I would go about it. But still, if I had to go by either or who I think is like the bigger baby face, I'm gonna still say Cody in this scenario, just again by a hair. I feel like Sammy is for the now, kind of like the
Mm.
Kofi situation, but for the future, you gotta say Cody's like that baby face.
I
But moving on,
agree. He definitely has like face of the company potential. I didn't know if you had anything else to say, but I think we can
I could battle about them
move.
all day.
Yeah, same,
We're good.
same. We're good, but moving on. So, speaking of WWE, once again, the biggest party of the summer finally has a destination. It was announced on Tuesday, February 7th, that WWE SummerSlam will be going to Detroit. This marks the first time Detroit has hosted a premium live event at Ford Field since WrestleMania 23 in 2007, because it will be hosted at Ford Field. Based on WWE's trajectory creatively, how excited are you for this year's SummerSlam, and how do you feel about the fact that it's in Detroit?
I wasn't excited when I was watching the Royal Rumble, but then they've been picking their shit up within the last two TV shows for Raw and SmackDown. And I feel like they're going to be pulling out a lot of stops and surprises, maybe going from WrestleMania through SummerSlam. I think Detroit's
Right.
actually a very interesting spot. Of course, me being an Eminem diehard fan, I'm just like, wait, can we get like, can we get Eminem to be like the theme?
No.
I would love to have an Eminem theme song promoted for SummerSlam, please. And normally I'm not excited for SummerSlam as much because it's kind of like here or there, depending on their efforts. Sometimes like they knock it out the park, and sometimes it's just kind of meh. But I feel like if they continue the momentum that they're doing now going into WrestleMania, I feel like SummerSlam could be promising. Do you see any like certain stars that are going to be continuing from WrestleMania through and maybe having another storyline coming into SummerSlam at all, or do you think they have something else planned?
So I think right now, if I were to able to assess the creative landscape and see what can happen potentially for SummerSlam, I see a couple of matches, right? I
Mm-hmm.
see Roman versus Jay. I feel like we're going to be getting
Mm-hmm.
that at SummerSlam. I don't know why.
Okay.
I just feel like based on the direction of everything is going, I feel like Roman is going to focus on Sammy. He's going to focus on Cody. 9 times out of 10, he's going to focus on
Mm-hmm.
Cody again for WrestleMania Backlash.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, ooh, Jesus, they're going to go into SummerSlam. And I personally think that's just kind of going to be the focal or the main storyline because now main event Jay Uso is back, right? So I think that's a thing. Um, interaction that kind of intrigued me that I don't know if they're going to take advantage of come WrestleMania. Um, that I would love to see come to fruition at SummerSlam is a fleshing out of the moment at the Royal Rumble between Brock Lesnar and Gunther. I don't know. I think Brock and Bobby are gonna be going at it for WrestleMania, and rightfully so. Um, but if that's the case, I think that Brock versus Gunther should be next. And so those are the two things that I see. But as it pertains to like how excited I am for SummerSlam, I think that WWE is kind of molding and shaping itself into an exciting product. And I think that by the time SummerSlam comes around, I think that a lot of people are going to be excited because I'm excited already. So, but yeah, that was my little.
But don't you
Uh,
imply that if it's Roman versus Jay, that Roman's going to retain,
no,
and then we're going to continue this whole blood? No. So would it be?
I
You're
don't think he's
saying
going
for
to
a
retain.
non-titles match, you see those two going at it.
I think it's going to be a non-title
He is.
match. It's going to be one of
Oh,
those.
non-title, non-title. Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be a non-title. Even though he's not necessarily even though Roman won't hold the title, Roman's going to be in a position where Roman is still going to be the main event. I think this is just my personal opinion, and it's happened multiple times before, right? Like we saw WrestleMania 28 where Punk and Jericho were a WWE Championship match, but who was the main event? Rock and Cena. We saw at WrestleMania, Mania 29 and stuff like that. And granted, Rock and Cena is a different beast or different animal, but those are just kind of like examples of how you can have a non-title match with a story, a very very prevalent story, main event a pay-per-view or be a focal point of a pay-per-view. Um but oh yeah, what was the other thing I was going to say? Oh yeah, the fact that it's in Detroit. WWE
Yes.
moving to stadium WWE moving to stadiums is such a game changer because it expands their venues or the possibility of venues because like
Yeah.
obviously you can't do uh, a Detroit stadium show for like a Survivor Series or something like that. It's gonna be brick. But because now they're doing stadium shows in the summer, it's like you can put that anywhere. Like obviously it's Detroit now,
Right.
but I could see Atlanta being one of those places in the coming future. I could see who else? I could see it being done in Toronto. Like the fact that SummerSlams are moving to stadiums, I think expands the possibility of where SummerSlam can be. And I think that the fact that this is going to be the first event at, Ford Field since Mania 23, I think that's super fire and I think that's super dope. Um, this better not be called SummerSlam 8 Mile though. I can tell you that much. It better not be no SummerSlam
Why?
8 Mile.
I need an
Why?
Eminem performance. He opens up the show. I will lose it.
Of course you will lose it.
I
You
would
will
lose
mark
it.
out.
I might just jump the barricade. I
Oh yeah,
would
because
jump
you're gonna.
over the fucking barricade and probably attack that man.
No, don't. You better.
But yes,
You
I
better not.
forgot to mention I should be attending SummerSlam this year. I'm not sure if I had the suite or sorry, the suite or the floor seats. But if I'm on the floor and I spot Eminem, I'm hopping over that barricade and I'm
Girl,
definitely tackling down that man. I love Eminem. That is my white stepfather. I'm gonna say it. It's Black History Month. That's probably very offensive to say, but that is my white stepfather.
here we got
And I
Jay
blocked
Z.
enough people yesterday over Eminem.
Here we got LeBron breaking records, Jay Z doing stuff, Beyonce breaking records, and you over here bragging about Eminem during Black History Month. Shame on you. Shame.
I'm gonna get canceled. I'm gonna
But
get
any but
canceled.
but anywho, hold on. Let me just. Mm. Anywho, I think that's a good point
He's sick of me.
to move on off of. But let us know how you feel about SummerSlam being in Detroit. But speaking of WWE, it looks like one of the cornerstones of WWE in Seth Rollins has a problem with Logan Paul. On a recent appearance of the Pat McAfee show, the former WWE champion voiced his displeasure with Logan Paul's tenure in WWE, saying that he only cares about himself and is leeching off the business. Do you think this is a shoot? Or do you think that this is just leading towards a match between Seth Rollins and Logan Paul at WrestleMania 39?
Oh, definitely. It's a work. It's definitely a
Mm,
work, but it's the perfect work because um a lot of people hate Logan Paul. Let's be honest. A lot of people who don't watch wrestling and they're big on the internet, they hate Logan Paul. They hated him before he got signed.
okay.
There's fans that they're like me and they'll separate the actual talent from the shitty person they are behind screen in terms of just this particular situation. And there's some people who are just like, no, fuck Logan Paul, he's selfish, he's proven he's very selfish in his personal life. So
Mm-hmm.
um considering that Seth Rollins is, I guess he's booked as a heel, right? He's still in his heel era,
I
since
think
you
he's a
kind of
face
can't do that to
technically.
Logan Paul. He's a face right now.
I think he's technically a face.
Okay, it doesn't feel like Logan Paul's a heel to me because I feel like he's too over. But you could really work it out both ways to where one is just a jealous, envious heel, or you could work it. You could go off of real life instances and just like let's just go off the fact that Logan Paul is a selfish asshole. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's brilliant because it's realistic and you kind of we all know who Logan Paul is, and you can't just give him a character. You're better off since he's still being slandered off of like the T channels off of YouTube. I mean, literally, I just saw something like last week or 2 weeks ago about this man. You're better off going off of that and talking about how selfish he really is and translating into how he's never been in it for the fans. And you could go with the cliche that he doesn't care for the WWE universe. He's just here to collect a paycheck. He's only in
Mm-hmm.
business for himself. You could just play off of all that and it'll easily just write itself,
Yeah.
So I see it as completely being a work. But I mean, maybe just a hair of Seth Rollins just probably believe that because most wrestlers do get pretty pissed off when someone just walks through the door because they are well known outside and WWE is just pulling them in just for like ratings and views. But Logan Paul is an exception. He's someone that he is there because of his presence on social media and that he has a name for himself, but he actually on the real does care for pro wrestling and the business. And you could see it in his face. He's just so excited to be there. It doesn't feel
Mm-hmm.
like when he's there, he's just putting himself over. It just feels like, hey, I'm so excited to be here and I want to work with everybody. He may not like know the whole history of WWE and stuff like that. He may not be like a full on mark, but it does very much come off to me that like he is proud to be there. So it's probably half and half. It's probably slight envy because like, hey, Seth Rollins was backyard wrestling, from my
Mm-hmm.
understanding, before he got up here. And he had to make a name for himself. This man just walked in here with a name. So it could be a little bit of both, but I'm calling it as a work. What do you think?
I call it as a work as well. Obviously, with WrestleMania 39 right around the corner, you want to work in Logan Paul into your lineup. There have been discussions or rumors and reports of Cena doing, WrestleMania 39, but there have been talks about him having a match with Austin Theory, as well as other possibilities. I think that this is a work. I think that this is going to be building up towards a match between Rollins and Paul. And I think that if Logan Paul can work with Roman Reigns, I think that Seth Rollins can work with him as well. Um, and I think that it's a very, very great approach to this story, right? Like the whole this is my business and this is pro wrestling and I'm a pro wrestler and I take this very, very seriously. And you're over here just using it for clout, using it to build your name. I think it's a perfect angle And it's very, very believable because we all know how passionate Seth is about pro wrestling. So I think that it's
Yeah.
really, really dope. I think it's a really, really good angle. And like you said, there may be a little bit of real life in there. You know what I mean? Like, I know for a fact that Drew McIntyre hasn't had necessarily the most positive things to say about Logan Paul. And so I feel like there may be a good amount of wrestlers who also don't have the nicest things to say about Logan Paul because those guys in the locker room are pro wrestlers. They've been training years to do this. They want the championship gold. They want the big stories. And then seeing a guy like Logan Paul, someone off the internet, come in and do what he does, I think that may rub a couple people the wrong way, and I understand that. And but back to Seth, I think that this is a really, really good story for him. I think it's a really, really good approach to the storyline because it feels real to Seth. And I look forward to seeing kind of where they go from here pertaining to it. You had anything else to say? Because you was about to say something.
Oh no, I was breathing.
All
Go on.
right, well then we're moving on. So, speaking of WWE, and I knew I had to include this in here. Speaking of WWE, wanted to know if we just saw the exit of one of WWE's most beloved women's wrestlers because this past week the internet was set ablaze as Naomi removed WWE superstar from her Instagram bio. Is this nothing or is it something? Wanted to ask you and get your take on it. And I'm
I
gonna put
saw
my mic down
that.
because I know you're gonna go off.
You don't stop. It's been a few days since. I mean, man, I saw that and I tried giving it like a couple hours, man. I saw it at night and then I was like, all right, I don't want to like comment on this just yet, just because like, maybe a report's gonna come out or maybe she's gonna like drop a new project, it could be one or the other. And but then some of you bitches on social media, y'all piss me off. You guys really piss me off because for some reason, when something happens to either Naomi or Sasha, you have to kind of like group them together. And for some reason, this conversation about Naomi and what's her next move and what she's about to do just became a whole. Oh well, she dropped that that she's not in WWE no more, but she's not making any moves. She's not going to any of the promotions. Sasha's doing X, Y, and Z, and what has Naomi accomplished since? And that just got me very irritated because first and foremost, when it comes to the Holy Trinity, I'm coming out swinging every single time. Every single time. And there was a particular comment that just set me off where someone was just basically saying that Sasha Banks benefited off of the walkout and Naomi has not. Insinuating that our girl hasn't done shit, no one's checking for her, no one's looking for her. And it's just like, they're two separate females. And I said this time and time again, they're two separate females. They have their own personalities, their own agendas. Yes, they walked out for similar reasons. They weren't being properly utilized, they weren't being properly represented in the way that they deserve to be. But that doesn't mean that every time one woman makes a move, you have to make it a comparison to what the other woman's doing. I said this on Twitter and I'm gonna say this again. Y'all have this there can only be one complex when it comes to black women. That and I always reference this, that Naomi versus Tyra Banks complex.
Yeah.
And it's like, y'all don't do this to white women wrestlers. You specifically only like to do this when it comes to black women. And that's what just pisses me off. You know, I'm happy for everything that Sasha Banks is doing. I'm happy that she's in New Japan. I'm happy that she has a CBD line. I'm happy that she's modeling and she is happy and she's just doing what she wants to do. But so is Naomi. But everyone goes about their wins in different ways.
Yes.
Maybe Sasha has to promote herself because maybe her marketing team demands that, or maybe she just feels like telling you her every single move. Naomi really doesn't do that. She's very subtle. You don't see what she's doing until it's already done. And you could see that being referenced on her Instagram page. Everyone was wondering what was she doing during Juneteenth and all that stuff. And she was just subtly posting that she's out with her family having bliss. She was having a good time. You know what I mean? People were questioning what she was doing. Again, she didn't say nothing. She didn't make no moves. But then you saw that she just subtly just posted, oh yeah, I'm kind of like in an editorial magazine or whatever for this high fashion gig, and like she played it off like it was nothing. And you click the link and like she's literally doing high editorial fashion modeling and she's signed to an agency. But did she brag about it? No, she just said, hey, this is what I did. She's humble. That's just how she always is. And my thing about Naomi is that Like, just because she's not telling you every 2 seconds don't mean that nothing is cooking. You know what I mean? She may want to wrestle. She may not want to wrestle. She maybe may want to have kids at the moment and working on that. Maybe she's not. The point is that we don't know what she's really doing, and it's none of our business. But what we do know and what we can infer off of what she's been posting, what she's been saying, and stuff like that is that she is happy. And I feel like y'all are missing the point here. The point of the walkout wasn't give me what I want or else. The point is I'm not happy. Like I was working here. I gave you guys my time for about a decade, and I'm not happy. I'm not at peace. And in this time for her walking out, I don't know how many months it's been. It's been since May that they walked out and some change. She's at peace and she's happy. So to answer your question, on is it something, is it not something? We don't know if she left WWE. From my understanding, she was on the alumni on some people's pages. Some people said she's not on the alumni. I personally hope she does walk out. I do. I don't think that this company genuinely cares for her. And at the end of the day, all I care for is to see that she's happy, and I'm grateful for everything that she has provided for me as a fan, for many other people of color watching wrestling. Her, Sasha, Bianca, all of them. They're all individual Black women that need to be represented and appreciated, again, individually and separately. They do not share a brand. They do not need to operate with each other, to be successful. I'm happy whatever she does, whatever makes her happy. That I'm with it. I'm not here to follow just Naomi. I'm here to support Trinity, and I feel like everyone needs to move about the same. And y'all need to stop trying to connect dots and make comparisons and leave these grown ass women alone.
Mm,
Stop. You don't help us or help the community when you got to make everything a comparison.
mm.
Stop. You don't do it with the white woman. Don't do it with the Black woman. Just appreciate what they're doing and that they're happy, because regardless, them being on their own separate journeys and doing what they're doing is giving back to us as a community. Because we did not have this shit growing up. We did
That's
not.
a fact. That's a fact.
They don't have the luxuries that they have luxuries now that women 10 years ago did not have in this industry. So this is a much calmer version of me, because honestly, if Jordan would have called me like fucking 4 days ago, this would have been a wrap, because I woke up at 8 in the morning mad as hell. But
Swinging,
y'all need to cut it out.
ready to fight. Okay, that's why I put my. That's what put my. That's why I put my
Y'all need
water
to cut
down.
this shit out and leave my girl alone. Word.
So,
I'm sorry, but I want to hear your take about this, Jordan.
so here's my thing about it, right? That's interesting. Here's my thing about it. I don't think that it's anything, but obviously it has the potential to be something. Um, as it pertains to this whole discussion about Naomi walking out of the company, I think WWE isn't necessarily in the place where they're trying to bring Naomi or Sasha back. I don't think that they now in hindsight, like at first I thought that they were. I think that their big focus, especially knowing Hunter. Hunter has always been a guy that has always focused on the future. And so I think that he sees what's going down in NXT with Jakara Jackson, with Lash Legend. He sees what he has in Bianca, and he says, I don't want to bring a Naomi or a Sasha back. I just want to be able to have a good rapport with them. And then we could just keep it pushing. I think that that's kind of where WWE is. Now, as it pertains to like your point of the comparisons, it's a tale as old as time. It happens in rap music with Black women rappers. It happens, and I think that there's a stigma, right? Like the Naomi Tyra thing, right? Them going back. There's this stigma related to Black women in every industry because there is a myth that when it comes to mainstream representation, there can only be one Black woman. It's the Black girl, right? And there's this myth that there has to be a the Black girl in the industry, right? A the Black woman in rap, a the Black woman in modeling, and that's the reason why they're pit up against each other. But that's a byproduct of mainstream media's failure to represent Black and brown people and the entire scope. You know what I mean? And I think that that is what has created this climate in which Black women are constantly pitted up against each other. However, I do
Mm-hmm.
believe that that it's unfair, that it's unjust, Um, that Naomi, even though she may have not, Mercedes is clearly in New Japan doing her thing, and even though that's not necessarily Naomi's path, Naomi is well accomplished and has, you know, has opportunities lined up for herself. So I think she has nothing to worry about. Um, but yeah, like I don't. I think you kind of covered it all, which is the reason why I'm a little bit, which is why I'm like stumbling for a little bit. Um, but yeah, that's just kind of like where I'm at and what I see with this entire situation. But I want to know what everybody else feels. How do you guys feel about Naomi removing her by removing WWE superstar from her bio? Is it something? Is it nothing? Let us know in the comments. But we are moving on. Yeah, hallelujah. Anyway, so Willow Nightingale recently appeared on Excuse Me, the Vicky Guerrero show, and expressed that it was her goal to be the face of AEW. When asked about her growth in the company, she said the following: "The thing that I really go off of is the energy and the vibe whenever I go to out to shows and whenever I make my entrance, I feel that. I feel that the crowds have gotten louder, there are more people with me. But to me, that's all just really exciting. I try not to let it go to my head because I don't want to be that kind of person that coasts and gets super comfortable and is like, I'm the person. I felt it for a very I felt it for a very little bit, and already I've been having conversations with my boyfriend where it's like I have to shift. I have to start doing this, doing new this. I have to get better at this. People have plateaus, but I want to just keep on getting better, rising in popularity. I want to be the face, a face of this company. So I'm going to keep trying. Now, obviously, AEW has been known for its, having a very, very diverse, eclectic collection of women in their women's roster. And Willow is obviously one of the newest additions over the past like 6 months, I believe. So I wanted to know, do you believe that Willow Nightingale can be the face of AEW or be a face of AEW?
Oh yeah, I feel like she's gonna have her time. It just won't happen right now, right this moment, because
Mm,
I think they're still working on like their current agendas, and I feel like they won't give Willow that opportunity until they're done with their Jade Cargill agenda. Because I mean, again, she has that look and all that stuff like that that they love. But if they're looking for like a female baby face of the company that just feels natural and just got it all, you really could pull that off with Willow. Like she was so infectious even when she was on the indies. And I just like I saw her look and like she just something about her. I couldn't put my finger on it, but I just wanted to get to know her for some reason. Like she's very good. She's a very normal looking woman, gorgeous, freaking gorgeous by the way. She works very well with a lot of people. She makes other people look very good in their matches. She's a good person off screen. She's very passionate about the sport. And I do think Tony Khan does like her, but he's slowly just introducing some Willow because again, you got Jamie Hayter right now as your champion,
mm-hmm,
and he's still trying to figure out how to work for some reason Saraya into being relevant, even though I feel like she's growing stale on me. And then you have Jade. I feel like if they want to, they really could like slowly build up Willow and put her up against Jade since Jade is still booked as a heel.
mm-hmm,
Get like a natural baby face that everyone already believes in because I noticed that when it comes to AEW, that's kind of what they're missing. They're missing like a very natural baby face. I mean, you kind of sort of had that with Jamie, but Jamie wasn't always a baby face, and you kind of had that
yeah,
with Tony. But while Tony is a baby face, she doesn't come off like she's like face of the company baby face. She just kind of is like you know she's up there, but she ain't there. Willow just has that kind of like that feeling you got when you deal with like Cody for some reason. I kind of get that with Willow. She just oozes that.
mm,
She really could if you just work her into something with Jade and maybe have her dethrone her and work up the ladder. She's somewhere I feel like everyone would be really proud of and would root for unanimously if she was like a women's champion. But I love everything that she stated here. I love that she's hungry to put in the work to do better, to be better, and she's reading the room. But I don't doubt that she's gonna get there. She probably will get there. If I had to predict, not this year, but possibly next year, I could see her being a conversation of
mm.
being, if not the TBS champion, then maybe like working towards like the world championship. And being the face of maybe the next video game if they have another video game next year or something like that. Who knows? But like she
Right.
she has that it factor. So I want that for her. What do you think?
So first things first, the reason why I keep looking off screen is because I keep refreshing my Twitter feed because um last week Banks got news in the show that AEW may have a streaming deal. So I'm just keep refreshing Fightful to see if I see
A
anything.
streaming deal.
Yeah, possible streaming deal. There's
Any
rumors
details?
of there's none yet, but we're actually going to touch on that in a minute. But as it pertains to Willow, yes. First of all, I love Willow. I love her presentation. I love just how naturally vibrant she is, and she definitely gives a genuine babyface vibe, as you said. I think that she definitely has the potential to be the face of the company. I think she can. I think she will be the face of the company. I think based on just kind of the landscape now, because Jamie, Britt, and Rebel are faces, um, and Soraya and Tony are heels. They've kind of taken on this kind of
Yeah.
like NWO outsider esque approach, which to each his own. But um, I think that based on the landscape that we have right now, it definitely allows for some flexibility for women like Willow to kind of ascend in the rankings and be that super over baby face. And I think she's just great. Great in ring, great presentation. She's just a ball of joy, just a big ball of joy. And I think she's just amazing. So we'll see what happens with that. But I'm really, really excited for her. And I'm really, really excited for her, and I know that she could be the face of AEW. She's great. But if I want to know what everybody else feels, can Willow be the face of the AEW women's division? I believe so. And if you don't believe so, you're racist because it's Black History Month. Moving on.
Okay, perhaps.
Moving on, Tony Khan wants his bag. All right. In a recent interview with Uprocks Sports, Khan expressed his expectations for AEW's media rights moving forward. He says, "I expect big increases in the rights for the AEW programs, and we're on a good pace to make a very lucrative deal for the AEW media rights going forward," Khan said. He also went on to say, "We've done 174 episodes of Dynamite, 80 episodes of AEW Rampage.
Hey.
Our 17th pay per view event will be March 5th in Revolution. So we've done hundreds and hundreds of hours of AEW content in our library. I also purchased Ring of Honor last year, which is a great promotion with over 20 years of history, thousands of hours of video in their library. So overall, AEW has access to so many great wrestling events, including some events that are widely considered to be some of the best wrestling events of all time. There's a lot of interest in this library as well as the new weekly content we continue to produce each week. And I do think there's a lot of demand for the library, and it makes a lot of sense for us to try to make that AEW library available to fans all over the world on demand. So now we're talking about media rights of AEW Dynamite and Rampage going forward. We're also talking about their library. And I want to know, number one, two questions. Number one, do you believe that AEW is going to get a very lucrative media rights deal? So, like, essentially, money for television, money for their programming. And do you believe that AEW will have their own streaming service?
Yeah, they need to. I'm surprised it actually hasn't happened sooner because they've been doing very well for themselves.
Hmm,
And if they're not mainstream to you now, like I mean, I think that they're fucking mainstream. I mean, they've been getting like nothing but mainstream artists to come in. They've been doing deals with other companies. I feel like it would only benefit for them if they had their own streaming or their own network. They honestly need like something very similar to the WWE network. It would
mm-hmm,
help them out so much considering that they've been doing like shit on like YouTube and stuff like that before for a while before building up AEW. I could see them having a bunch of other like segments, nice organized ways to have their shows and their pay per views. It's not like Tony Khan doesn't have the money for it.
right.
You need the right deal. But I think that they could do it, and I think they could really benefit from it. Yeah, I'm totally for it. Why not? What do you think?
I think I'm for it as well. I think that there definitely needs to be an AEW streaming service. Obviously, with all the stuff that they've been doing has been great. And I feel like people would find a lot of value in finding a lot of like the AEW premium live events, AEW pay-per-views, and finding the AEW programming in one centralized place with with a nice good interface, probably some bonus content. So I think that there is definitely a demand for an AEW streaming service. Now, as it pertains to their media rights deal, this is where it gets interesting. There's been so many things that have happened since AEW signed their extension from a couple of years ago. Obviously, Cody left. CM Punk is in
Right.
disarray. We don't know what's happening with
Mm,
him. But we've also, on the flip side, have seen AEW bounce back in probably the best way that it can. Obviously, promoting John
for sure.
Moxley, creating promoting John Moxley, promoting Chris Jericho, building some form of infrastructure where you have Pat Buck and Tony Schiavone and Sanjay Dutt kind of at the helm, helping out Tony Khan and kind of really building out a company instead of just like, all right, well, Tony's in charge and we got the elite to coach and mentor. So they have a company, they have a
Yeah.
structure. In addition to that, we've seen them make very, very drastic changes to their television presentation. I believe they hired the senior television, I think like a senior television person from WWE. Shortly thereafter, AEW unveils this brand new set, beautiful set, that retains a lot of the grit that we love from AEW, but polishing it up enough for it to look presentable, and to lure people from the other side, if you catch my drift. And in addition to that, we've seen multiple guys come back. We've seen Adam Cole come back. We've seen the Elite come back. We've seen all these valuable talents come back to AEW. So I think that when you're looking at the next set of negotiations, I think that we're looking at a deal um that's probably going to rival WWE. If WWE's making 250 million dollars a year, if I'm Tony Khan, I'm going to be asking for about 100 to 150 million dollars a year from TNT. Considering
Oh
that
yeah.
there was a point in time, number one, there was a point in time where SmackDown decided that they wanted to put their beef on the table and try to compete with AEW. And while SmackDown beat them in the ratings, the objective wasn't to beat SmackDown in the ratings. The objective was to show Turner that they can get close with the little money that they had. And because of that, I think Tony has leverage going into negotiations. So I
Oh
do
yeah, of course.
believe I do believe that they got something. They have something in store. They have something in store, and I think that they're going to have some very, very fruitful negotiations where AEW and Tony Khan is going to be very, very pleased um, about what they get in return. You going to say something or not?
Oh no, I was listening. I was very
Oh,
much in tune.
that's really all that I had to say. But I expect there to be a streaming service. I expect there to be an increase in value in their media rights deals. Um, but we're gonna see going forward. However, we want to know how y'all feel. Do you feel like Impact? I mean, Impact. Uh, do you feel like AEW is
Wrong
going
show, my
to?
brother.
Right, wrong show, wrong topic. Do you feel like AEW is going to get a streaming service, and do you feel like they're going to get an increase in their value in their media rights? Let us know in the comments. But we are moving on. So, on to the last topic of the show. Uh, One of the things that have been previously mentioned over the course of the past couple weeks, I think kind of like a month, is can Impact Wrestling do an all women show? Gail Kim went on the Generation of Wrestling podcast and expressed interest in doing an all women show, obviously featuring the talent of Impact Wrestling, but also featuring talent from women of other companies. And I wanted to know from your perspective, do you think that Gail Kim, I don't know why I was about to say Gail King, do you think that Gail Kim can, collaborate with Impact and possibly pull off an all women show?
Oh yeah, definitely. Um, but I see Impact also trying to do something with AEW since they've kind of already opened up that door before. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
that'd be pretty cool. Um, and actually, I would love that just because I didn't feel like anytime soon we're gonna see. WWE try to do in Evolution. And what I do appreciate about Impact is they do put equal focus on the women as they do with the men. I mean, I I barely really even watched Impact like that while she was there, but like she was like the peak. Like she was like, you know, her and Thou Shall Not Be Named were like the two biggest names that you couldn't stop hearing. You know what I
Right.
mean? Which means that they put proper emphasis on women. So I, and then also with like the stuff that they done with like Maria Kanellis, you know, allowing her to have like rights to, you know, be like the first lady and you know, put a focus on like impact of women. I feel like, yeah, they should have that. And I feel like they would pull it off. I just don't know if it would be on the same like magnitude as what we got off of when WWE tried to do an all women's pay per view. Like I'm not sure if
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna hit the same numbers because it's not the names that people are looking for necessarily. Like I
Right.
probably could pick out a handful that I like that are over there, but it's something that I would say is predictable. If they're doing it out of just wholesomeness, like I mean that'd be great. Um, I don't know. Like I'm not against it. I'm actually very much for it. I just think they need more names to pull over there if they're going to do
Mm-hmm.
an all women's wrestling pay per view. Just because I don't. It's not that I don't think they have enough women. I don't think they have enough women that are going to pull in the viewers. Like they
Mm.
need a little bit of star power that they could pull over there. So do you think that maybe if they like maybe did a little small deal with Tony Khan and pulled over some names that they have going on over there and did this maybe a slight little collaboration that perhaps that could be a better show? Because I don't think on
Mm-hmm.
their own they're going to get the numbers that they're looking for.
Mm.
What do you think?
Interesting. I think that they can definitely pull this off and that it can exceed expectations. I think that they can pull
Really?
off an all women show and I think that they can exceed expectations. Here's my stance on it, and here's the reason why. Impact Wrestling, number one, in my opinion, has probably one of the best, if not the best, women's division in the world. They've been consistently good for a very long time. We can look at they have, well, I don't know if Tasha Steeles is there anymore, but they've had Jordan Grace. They've had obviously the woman who should not be named. Obviously, you have Mickey James. You have Deanna Perrazzo. I think you have Savannah Evans, who's still in that company, and she's really good. You
Yeah.
have Killer Kelly, who's also been picking up momentum. Not to mention the fact that they actually have a women's tag team division and they actually do women's tag team matches. Um, so you have I think it's Decay. I think Taya Valkyrie is over there. But in addition to that, they've also been able to develop really good relationships with pretty much every company. So they can pull talent from AEW. They could also pull talent from New Japan and Stardom. Sasha Banks
That's
versus
what I'm
Mickey
saying.
James.
Yeah.
Sasha Banks versus Mickey James can happen because Sasha is well, Mercedes Monet is on New Japan and Stardom. They can get Kyrie. So they have the resources um to make it happen. Right? Gail Kim has the resources to make an all women show happen. Will it be as big as Evolution? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But it's worth a try. They can definitely draw with the resources that they have, and I think that it's something that they should look into doing because I think it's a good way to kind of it's a good way to continue to develop relationships with AEW and New Japan. So that's my little take on
Yeah,
it.
no, I'm not saying that the show won't like pop off. I just personally feel like they need a headliner to work with. Like you say, ooh, my apologies. Cool. Can anyone hear me now? Hey, yeah.
Yeah.
So, no, I agree with what you said. It's just that it's not that I don't think that the match qualities won't be there, but I don't think that they're going to get numbers unless they have a headliner, like you just said. Mickey James versus Sasha Banks. Like, take my fucking money. I'll watch the rest of the pay per view just because I want to get to that. But I
Right.
just don't think a lot of people pay attention to Impact all that much, even though I think that they're doing all great things. I feel like the only time when I open up my phone and I look on my, you know, what's going on in wrestling news and stuff like that, I don't see anyone talking about Impact or anything hitting the headlines unless maybe it pertains to like the bigger names or people like Mickey James who are like former. um WWE superstars. That's why I'm just like a little like because I could
Right.
see them having a good enough relationship to try to invite some other legends, but like I'm saying, you're gonna have to still otherwise use some legends that could keep up with themselves. Like a Melina would be amazing. Call back Melina if you
Mm,
can, for the love of God.
that would be
Or like
tough.
Mickey James, or put Sasha in there. I know Sasha will never say no to, get in a bag if you pay her enough, obviously. But like she would love to mix it up with someone like Mickey James, or hell, maybe that might be our plug to put in a Trish and a Sasha, since we're never gonna get it in WWE again, as far as I know.
Right.
I mean, Mercedes Moné versus Trish, and it don't have to be a super long match. I mean, give us like, I don't know, 8 to 10 minutes tops. Trish could thug it out. Put
Yeah.
some DW40 in them joints. Should be alright. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
we'll be good. So I feel like possible just needs star power is all.
I feel that, and I 100% agree with you on that. I don't know if, even though Trish probably has the agency to go elsewhere, I don't know if she could use the name Trish Stratus, because I don't know if WWE owns that name or not. Because the whole
Patricia. All right, bring that ass over, Patricia.
Patricia Stratus, like, I don't know how this is gonna work, but they'll figure it out. Calling somebody Patricia is crazy, but I guess they'll figure it out. But want to know what everybody else feels. How would you feel about Patricia possibly coming to Impact Wrestling and doing an all women show, and the possibility of an all women show just in general? So let me mark that. And that concludes our show. Thank you guys so much for tuning into episode 29 of the Culture 316 podcast. We'll be back next week with Elimination Chamber predictions, or predictions of Battle of the Valley. Oh, man, it's going to be great. But thank you guys so much for tuning into this show, and we look forward to seeing you guys next week.